If you're into isometric worlds full of neon lights, strange machines, and those broken future dystopias, trust me, you clicked on the right video. Because some of the games here look like Blade Runner collided with Soviet cyberpunk and somehow turned into something even crazier. And I promise you this, by the end of this list, at least 3 of these titles are going straight into your backlog. All right, enough warm-up, let's get into it. RESOGUN looks simple for about 3 seconds, and then it hits you with the kind of neon chaos that makes you wonder why your brain is having fun. You're flying around this rotating sci-fi cylinder, blasting enemies that explode into voxel fireworks like someone set off a digital 4th of July inside your TV. The announcer yelling "Save the last humans" shouldn't be funny, but it is, especially when he says it right as you're already panicking. Boost through a swarm, survive by accident, and suddenly you're laughing at yourself because you know that should have killed you. It's loud, messy, and weirdly irresistible. Saving humans is where things get stupid in the best possible way. You free one, he immediately sprints straight toward danger like he's late for his own funeral, and now you're playing intergalactic babysitter while bullets fly from every direction. You grab him midair, boost across the map, and get sniped by something you swear didn't exist a second ago, and the game just shrugs like, yep, that's on you. It's chaos that somehow becomes muscle memory, the good kind that makes you sit up in your chair without realizing it. And the worst part? You can't stop. You finish a stage drenched in sweat, tell yourself you're done, and then your finger hits restart before your brain catches up. 1 clean run becomes 4, then 8, then you're chasing a score you didn't even know you cared about. The screen keeps getting brighter, the explosions keep getting dumber, and you start boosting into danger on purpose just to see if you can walk away from it. It shouldn't be this addictive, but RESOGUN doesn't care. It knows you're staying for just one more. Gamedec is the kind of sci-fi detective game that feels harmless for about 5 minutes, and then you realize every character you meet is lying to you in a slightly different way. You're not fighting anyone, not shooting anything, you're just poking around conversations in digital worlds filled with people who really don't want you to know who they are in real life. One moment you're tracking a missing person, and the next you're reading chat logs that feel a little too believable for comfort. It's subtle, but it gets under your skin fast. The VR worlds are where things start to get weird. You jump into one and it looks like a cheerful farming sim, and then 2 minutes later, someone's sabotaging crops like it's a mafia turf war. Then you hop into a Western-themed server and realize half the players are role-playing so hard they've forgotten their real names. And every time you think you've figured out the truth, someone drops a line that makes you rethink the entire case. It's that wait, hold on kind of detective work, and the game loves messing with you like that. The wild part is how quickly you stop thinking like a player and start thinking like an actual investigator. You begin remembering little details from hours ago because some NPC said something that didn't match. You start doubting everyone, even the characters who seemed harmless. And when you finally corner someone with the exact piece of evidence they hoped you didn't notice, that tiny moment hits harder than any boss fight. Gamedec isn't flashy, but it's the kind of game that stays in your head long after you shut it down, mostly because you'll still be wondering who actually told you the truth. The first time I played the Ascent, I swear I spent more time staring at the world than actually shooting anything. The city feels alive in that loud, messy, nobody here is okay kind of way. Neon everywhere, vents leaking smoke like they've been doing it for years, NPCs arguing in languages you can't place, and then out of nowhere the entire megacorporation collapses and everyone acts like this happens 3 times a week. It's that kind of chaos where the game doesn't warn you, it just shoves a pile of trouble in your lap and keeps moving. Combat is a whole other flavor of ridiculous. You roll behind cover like you owe taxes, you empty half a clip into a group of cyborg maniacs, and then something explodes behind you that you definitely didn't shoot. Half the time you dodge something deadly by pure accident and pretend it was on purpose. And the guns, man, you pick up this scrap metal monster early on that shakes the whole screen every time it fires, like it's offended you dared pull the trigger. The game doesn't reward precision, it rewards surviving the nonsense. And somehow the world keeps pulling you back in. You take an elevator up 40 floors and it still feels like you're trapped in a neon pressure cooker. Vendors yell at you like you stole from them 3 missions ago. Ads glitch like they're exhausted, and everything looks like it's held together by duct tape and stress. It's uncomfortable, claustrophobic, loud, overwhelming, and weirdly hypnotic. The Ascent isn't trying to make you feel powerful. It just hands you a gun and dares you to keep up. Encased starts with everyone acting way too calm about working next to objects that hum like they're thinking. You walk into the dome and people talk like nothing weird ever happens, even though the lights flicker every 10 seconds and the machinery looks like it's held together by sarcasm and duct tape. You're the new person trying to understand the vibe, but the vibe is, we're doomed, but politely. And just when you're settling in, the whole place shuts down like it got tired of pretending everything was fine. Walking around the dome feels like touring a science project abandoned halfway through. Labs where machines twitch for no reason, storage rooms full of glowing junk nobody should be touching, and logs written by people who clearly weren't okay. NPCs speak to you like they're on their last nerve. Clues contradict each other because nobody communicates, and every room looks like it survived a meltdown. Probably literally. And the moment you grab your first anomaly gadget, you immediately use it in a way the game definitely didn't intend. That part is universal. There are these moments where the dome feels almost aware of you, lights dim right when you're alone, machines make noises that sound way too deliberate, people around you start acting strange, some pretend everything is normal, others form tiny cults around shiny objects, and a few just stare at you like they're listening to something you can't hear. Nothing jumps out or screams at you. It's slower, quieter, and honestly creepier because of that. Encased doesn't try to scare you, it lets the world slowly get inside your head. Helldivers is the kind of game that pretends to be serious for about 2 minutes before revealing it's basically a glorified panic simulator. You drop onto a planet thinking you have a plan, and the plan immediately catches fire. Bugs everywhere, robots marching out of smoke, teammates yelling at each other like this is their first day holding a gun. And then you realize the most dangerous thing on the battlefield isn't the enemies, it's your own squad accidentally calling down an airstrike on your head. It's chaos, but the funny kind of chaos. Every mission becomes a highlight reel of accidents. Someone trips a patrol you swear wasn't there, someone else drops a supply pod on a teammate by accident, and suddenly the extraction zone looks like a war crime. Half the time you survive because you panic rolled in the right direction. The other half you die because a friend mistyped a stratagem and summoned a turret that immediately turned you into paste. Helldivers should be frustrating, but it's too stupidly funny to ever stay mad at. And the best part? You start caring way too much about missions that clearly don't deserve this level of emotional investment. You scream at the screen when a bug grabs the objective, you hold your breath during extraction like it's a life or death moment, and you celebrate surviving with the most unearned confidence imaginable. Everything feels intense, loud, and completely out of your control, which is exactly why every win feels like you cheated fate. Helldivers isn't about strategy, it's about surviving disasters you helped create. Wasteland 3 greets you by immediately trying to kill you with a blizzard, a cult, and a bunch of screaming lunatics wearing costumes you wish you hadn't seen. You show up thinking you're prepared, and the game responds by throwing twice as many enemies at you just to check. It's messy, cold, loud, and somehow funny in that I shouldn't be laughing at this kind of way. Every character you meet acts like they've already lived 5 tragedies before breakfast. The combat feels like turn-based chaos, written by someone who enjoys watching players panic. You line up a perfect shot, and then one of your teammates decides to miss everything like they're allergic to accuracy. Next turn, the enemy crits you for 200 damage because the universe hates you. And yet, when you finally pull off a combo that wipes the whole field, you feel like a tactical genius even though you know luck carried at least half of that plan. Wasteland fights are never clean, they're scrappy bar fights with spreadsheets. But the real charm is how unhinged the world is. You talk to NPCs who say the most outrageous things with complete seriousness, wander into settlements that look like fever dreams, and get side quests that feel like dares. Sometimes you make a choice that immediately blows up in your face. Other times, the game rewards you for something you didn't even realize you did. It's unpredictable in the best way. Every hour feels like a new disaster, and somehow you want to see what the next one looks like. Rogue Trader hits you with that classic 40k energy, where everyone talks like the universe has already ended twice, and they're still annoyed about it. You ever start a game and immediately feel like you walked into someone else's argument? Because that's Rogue Trader. People whispering about prophecies, ship crew arguing over things you don't understand yet, and you standing there pretending you're not one bad decision away from getting spaced into the warp. And the ship, that thing feels alive in the worst possible way. Combat is that slow, tense kind of tactical where every turn feels like it could derail the whole mission. You line up a shot thinking you're clever, and suddenly half the room explodes because someone sneezed near a plasma reactor. Tell me why every crit in this game feels personal. And when you bring companions with you, good luck. They're all incredible, but every one of them has an opinion that could start a holy war. You win fights, but you lose sanity. Fair trade. What keeps you locked in is how unpredictable every zone feels. One minute you're negotiating with someone who clearly wants you dead, the next you're knee-deep in cultists chanting things you don't want to Google, and the warp? Man, why does every hallway feel like it's one glitch away from swallowing you whole? Every decision feels like you're poking the universe with a stick and daring it to react. Half the time you're confident, half the time you're lying to yourself, and somehow the game makes both feel correct. Invisible Ink starts with that everything just went wrong and nobody has time to explain vibe. You ever play a game where the tutorial feels like a fire drill that actually matters? That's this one. Your agents talk fast, alarms are already blaring, and you're thrown into a stealth mission that expects you to think 3 moves ahead even though you're still figuring out where the walls are. It's tense in a way that makes you sit up straight without realizing. Every turn feels like you're sneaking around a house you shouldn't be in. You peek around a corner and your brain goes, please don't be a guard, please don't be a guard, and guess what? It's definitely a guard. And when you pull off a perfect escape, you ever get that feeling where you want to brag even though nobody saw what you did? Invisible Ink does that constantly. Success feels earned. Failure feels like your fault because it was, brutally so. The style of the world sticks to you because it feels clean and sharp in the most dangerous way. Offices full of security tech humming like they're judging you, cameras that always rotate at the worst possible moment, and guards who magically wake up exactly when you're 1 tile away from freedom. This is the kind of game where every move feels like a little gamble. Can I get away with this? And half the time the answer is no. But when it works, it feels like you're the smartest person alive. Alien's Dark Descent is one of those games that loves stressing you out just to see what you'll do. You ever walk into a corridor thinking, this looks harmless, and then your motion tracker starts beeping like it wants you to rethink your entire life? It's ridiculous how that sound manages to hit a part of your brain evolution hasn't updated yet. And your squad, why do they always start breathing louder the second you need silence? It's like they're trying to get you caught on purpose. Everything feels like the game is waiting for you to relax so it can punish you for it. Every mission turns into a chain reaction of tiny mistakes that snowball into disaster. You move slowly, checking every angle like a paranoid parent, and then one Marine shifts his weight wrong and alerts half the hive. And when things go loud, they go loud. Xenos sprint out of vents like they've been practicing for this moment, alarms blare, and you're yelling at AI teammates who absolutely cannot hear you. Extraction is never smooth, never calm, never controlled. Someone always panics, someone always bleeds, and somehow it always ends with you sprinting to the dropship, yelling, move, 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 even though you know they won't. The funny thing is how surviving feels like a miracle every single time. You pull back, regroup, swear at everyone, and somehow scrape by with decisions that felt disastrous 5 seconds before. Shadows look suspicious, vents hiss in ways that feel personal, and every single noise convinces you to turn around immediately, but you don't. You keep pushing deeper because some delusional part of your brain goes, maybe this time won't be a mess. Spoiler, it's always a mess. And that's exactly why you keep coming back. Alienation is the kind of game that pretends you're in control while immediately proving you're not. You start a mission thinking this looks manageable, and then 10 seconds later the entire screen is explosions, acid, lightning, parasites, and some alien charging at you like it wants a refund on a product you didn't sell. The game doesn't gradually build chaos, it hits you with it like a truck going 200 km/h. And the confidence you had at the start, gone. Instantly, replaced by panic rolling and screaming internally. Combat feels like you're dodging your own decisions as much as the enemies. You roll, shoot, reload, swap weapons, realize you swapped to the wrong one, swap back, then roll straight into something glowing red that absolutely should not have been there. And grenades, why do they bounce like they hate you? You throw them with full confidence and they ricochet off a tiny wall nub right back at your feet like the game is staring at you with a smirk. And when elites walk calmly toward you through a battlefield of explosions, they're not attacking, they're disrespecting you. But nothing beats that feeling of barely surviving a mission with your health flashing red and your character breathing like they just outran a meteor. Those moments make you feel unstoppable, even though you know you tripped your way to victory. Then you upgrade a skill, try a goofy build, and suddenly you're melting enemies like a walking war crime. Until the game humbles you again 5 minutes later. Alienation gives you power just long enough for you to believe in yourself, then rips it away instantly. And somehow, that's what makes it addictive. Nex Machina hits you with that old-school arcade energy, but with enough lasers on screen to make your monitor consider retirement. You ever start a level thinking, yeah, I can handle this, and the game immediately fills every corner with neon projectiles moving at speeds that should be illegal? It's bullet hell, but the fun kind. The kind that makes you lean forward in your chair like that somehow improves your reflexes. And the sound design? Every explosion feels like the game is applauding your panic. The funniest part is how confident you get between waves. You clear a room perfectly and think, maybe I'm built for this, and then the next room drops enemies from 6 directions at once just to remind you who's in charge. Tell me why every time you go for a human rescue, 10 robots spawn behind you like they're trying to jump you. And the dash, oh man, the dash. You use it once like a pro, then immediately use it again directly into enemy fire. Nex Machina doesn't punish mistakes, it exposes overconfidence. But once you get into the rhythm, the game clicks in a way that feels almost hypnotic. Colors blasting everywhere, music pumping, your brain turning into a reaction machine that only knows left, shoot, dash, pray. And when you finish a world with only 3 near-death experiences instead of 17, you feel like a legend. Then you restart, bump the difficulty, and instantly regret all your life choices. Nex Machina isn't about winning, it's about seeing how much chaos your brain can handle before it melts. Ruiner doesn't ease you in, it grabs you by the collar and throws you straight into a neon nightmare with more attitude than most games have dialogue. You ever play something where the world is so aggressive it feels like it's yelling at you? That's Ruiner. The streets glow like radioactive candy, everyone is armed, everyone is angry, and your character walks around with the exact energy of someone who hasn't slept in a week and won't explain why. It's stylish in a way that feels almost rude. Combat is pure frantic momentum. You dash like your life depends on it, shoot everything that moves, swing melee weapons that look like they were stolen from industrial machinery, and try to keep up with enemies that teleport just to annoy you. And tell me why every time you think you've cleared a room, 3 more psychos spawn behind you with rocket launchers. The game isn't balanced, it's unhinged. Half the fights end with you alive because you mashed dash in panic and somehow threaded the needle through a minefield. What makes Ruiner stick is how the world feels like a bad dream you keep willingly walking deeper into. NPCs talk in cryptic one-liners like they're all part of some neon cult. The music drills into your brain in the best possible way, and the whole atmosphere feels like a cyberpunk fever. You're not solving anything, you're not fixing the city, you're surviving it with pure stubbornness. And somehow, every time you finish a brutal encounter, you immediately walk into the next one like you didn't learn a single lesson. That's the Ruiner experience. Reckless, loud, and weirdly satisfying. 13 Sentinels is one of those games that pretends it's just a visual novel for about 5 minutes before throwing time travel, mechs, conspiracies, kaiju, and teenagers who definitely need therapy straight at your face. You ever start a story and immediately think, okay, wait, who is this again? Because that's this entire game, and somehow it works. Characters pop in from different timelines, different versions of themselves, different realities, and the game acts like you're supposed to understand any of it. It's chaotic, but in that trust me, you'll get it eventually kind of way. The strategy battles feel like someone handed you a holographic city and said, don't let the giant monsters step on it. You drop Sentinels into the fight like it's a sci-fi chess match where every piece has missiles. And tell me why every time you think you've got the perfect setup, a wave of enemies spawns from the side you weren't even looking at. There's always that one pilot who's exhausted, that one reactor overheating, that one kaiju beeping weirdly on the radar, and you're sitting there whispering, please, just hold for 10 more seconds. What really pulls you in is how the emotional moments sneak up on you. Between all the insanity, you get these quiet conversations in a sunset-lit classroom, then suddenly the same character is piloting a skyscraper-sized mech while screaming about fate. And the wild part? It all connects. Every confusing thread eventually clicks into place, and you get that moment of, oh, I'm not stupid, the game is just insane. It's wild, ambitious, overloaded in the best way, and somehow one of the most unforgettable sci-fi experiences out there. Transistor feels like stepping into a digital dream someone forgot to finish rendering. You ever play a game where the world feels too quiet, like it's hiding something? That's this place. Streets glow in impossible colors, buildings fade in and out like they're tired, and Red walks through it all with the calmest I've been through worse energy you've ever seen. And the Transistor talking to you? It's like having a tired best friend who keeps trying to sound confident while absolutely not being okay. Combat is the perfect mix of I'm a genius and why did I do that? You line up this beautiful tactical plan, pause time, draw the perfect path, and then execute it, only to realize you miscalculated and are now standing next to 3 angry robots. Ever use a move thinking it's brilliant and immediately regret it? Transistor is full of that. And when the process enemies start glitching all over the place like corrupted software having a tantrum, you start mashing abilities like your controller owes you money. But the atmosphere is what gets under your skin. The music hits you gently at first, then suddenly punches you in the feelings when you least expect it. Red's silence, the Transistor's voice cracking at certain lines, the empty stages that feel like someone deleted the world while you weren't looking. It's beautiful in that soft, melancholy way that sneaks up on you. You keep pushing forward not because you understand everything, but because something about this broken city feels worth saving. and by the end you realize the game tricked you into caring way more than you planned. Darksiders Genesis has this energy where nothing feels too serious, even though you're literally dealing with demons, angels, and the end of the world. The moment Strife starts talking, you already get the tone. He treats every situation like he's slightly annoyed but still having fun, while War stands there radiating, "Please stop talking" energy. The two of them together carry the whole adventure in a way that makes every cutscene feel like you're watching siblings argue while the apocalypse burns behind them. The combat feels like controlled chaos in the best possible way. 1 second you're mowing down enemies with Strife's guns, watching sparks fly everywhere, and the next you're switching to War and smashing things like you're trying to break the floor. Attacks overlap, explosions go off in places you weren't looking at, and sometimes you dash right into danger because you misread the arena. But the game never treats it like a failure. It feels like that's exactly how Genesis wants you to play. Fast, messy, and without overthinking anything. And the world leans fully into the franchise's dramatic, over-the-top vibe. Everything is huge, glowing, loud, or on fire, and somehow it all works together. NPCs talk like they have 10 problems you'll never hear about. Puzzles pretend to be simple before suddenly twisting into something weird, and arenas constantly spawn enemies from places you swear were empty a moment ago. Genesis isn't trying to reinvent anything, it's just trying to deliver a fun, stylish ride with two characters strong enough to break half the scenery, and it does that with zero shame. Torment! Tides of Numenera starts in a way that makes you feel like you've stepped into someone else's dream. You wake up falling from the sky, surrounded by people who act like they already know more about you than you ever will, and the world around you looks like it was built by mixing memories, technology, and imagination without checking if any of it matched. Nothing is explained too early, but it never feels confusing in a bad way. It feels like you're supposed to take it in slowly, piece by piece. Most of the game is talking, but it never feels like text for the sake of text. Conversations feel heavy because everyone speaks with the kind of confidence that makes you wonder what they've seen. A single choice can shift someone's attitude completely, and you always get the sense that every character has their own long history happening just outside your understanding. Combat barely shows up, and when it does, it feels like a last resort, like the world itself would rather you solve things with your mind than with blades or abilities. What sticks with you are the places and the strange logic they run on. Rooms hum with old machines, streets fold in on themselves like forgotten ideas, and characters appear who look as if they were built from memories instead of flesh. Each new area feels unfamiliar yet oddly coherent, as if the world is rearranging itself while you walk through it. Numenera doesn't try to hand you meaning, it lets you wander until the pieces start forming a picture on their own, and that slow understanding becomes the heart of the journey. Axiom Verge 2 starts with that quiet sense of wrongness where nothing jumps out, but everything feels slightly shifted. You walk through frozen ruins that look abandoned and advanced at the same time, like someone misplaced an entire civilization. The game never explains anything up front, it just lets you wander, noticing little details that don't line up. Finding new abilities feels less like unlocking power and more like picking up tools someone left behind for you. And every return to an old area reveals paths you swear weren't there before. Crossing into the alternate dimension changes the mood instantly, without any dramatic buildup. Colors bend, textures warp, and the world feels thinner, like you're walking inside a memory that shouldn't still exist. Enemies react to you in odd ways, as if seeing a version of you that's slightly out of sync. Moving through that place makes you slow down, not out of fear, but because everything feels unstable. And stepping back into the normal world brings a strange relief, like regaining balance you didn't know you lost. What makes the journey addictive is how naturally everything unfolds. The game doesn't push you forward. It trusts you to piece things together at your own pace. Each zone hides tiny clues that only click hours later, turning backtracking into small discoveries instead of chores. You start fitting parts of the world together without even noticing when it happened. And by the time the story finally opens up, you're already too deep into the mystery to pull away. Axiom Verge 2 draws you in quietly, almost without permission. There's something about West of Dead that just hits me in a weirdly satisfying way, man. It feels like the game wakes up every morning deciding whether it wants to hug you or punch you in the face, and honestly, half the time I'm not sure which one I prefer. Sliding behind cover, hearing that loud click, and praying you don't embarrass yourself, it's all part of the charm. This game is chaos, but that stylish kind of chaos you can't stop talking about. What gets me is how it pretends to be a simple shooter, but then suddenly turns into a guess who's gonna die first competition between you and the room. And I swear, sometimes the enemies spawn just to make fun of my decision-making skills, but when you nail a perfect dodge and land a clean shot, you feel like the hottest gunslinger alive. It's messy, it's stressful, and I kinda love that it doesn't apologize for it. If a game could smirk, this one definitely would. And don't even get me started on the vibe, because this game oozes style like it's trying to win an award for coolest lighting in hell. Ron Perlman's voice alone adds 10 levels of attitude, making every moment feel like he's judging your life choices. The shadows move like they're alive, the world feels angry, and somehow I'm completely obsessed with it. It's creepy, beautiful, and occasionally rude, which honestly makes it more fun. This is the kind of game you quit, breathe, and then immediately boot up again. The thing about Foreclosed is that it throws you into a cyberpunk meltdown before you even understand what's happening. One minute you're just living your life, and the next you're legally property being hunted through a city painted in neon panic. And man, that feeling of running while your identity is literally being auctioned off, that hits different. Everywhere you walk, screens stare at you like they already know your fate. It's stylish, but in that I might die any second kind of way. What I love is how your implants feel like both a blessing and a lawsuit waiting to happen. You overload a guy's brain and feel like a superhero, and then 2 seconds later, your own circuits start sparking because you got too confident. The gunplay mixes with hacking in a way that makes you constantly ask yourself, do I look skilled or completely lost? And honestly, the answer is usually both. But that chaos is what makes the game fun. It's unpredictable, messy, and weirdly satisfying. And let's talk about the comic book presentation, because that's where the game flexes the hardest. Every cut, every panel shift, every sound effect feels like it was ripped straight from a graphic novel that smells like burnt wires. The world isn't just futuristic, it's cold, corporate, and slightly judgmental. Even when the pacing stumbles, the style keeps you locked in. It's the kind of game you finish and think, okay, that was different, but I'm glad I went along for the ride.
Everything from me, but they left me with nothing to lose.
Decision Red Daze feels like that friend who invites you to a casual hangout and you show up to a full-blown apocalypse. The moment you land in that dusty wasteland, you're like, cool, I guess I live in misery now. And the game doesn't sugarcoat anything. It wants you to feel overwhelmed, underprepared, and slightly annoyed at how fast everything wants you dead. But weirdly, that's exactly what makes it fun. It's chaotic in a lovable, why am I doing this to myself way. What I like is how it mixes action with survival in a way that keeps you on edge the whole time. 1 second you're mowing down infected like a hero, and the next you're begging the game to give you 5 minutes to breathe. And the base building? Bro, I've never felt so proud and stressed at the same time, but that push and pull feeling, that constant pressure, it keeps your brain locked in. It makes every tiny victory feel like a championship moment. The world is ugly in the best possible way. Dust, smoke, ruined buildings, angry monsters. It's the kind of scenery that makes you think, yeah, humanity had a good run, but that grit gives it charm, that roughness gives it heart, and by the time you realize it, you're actually invested. Decision. Red Daze is one of those games that surprises you, not with polish, but with sheer attitude. And honestly, that's a win in my book. All right, that's the list. And I already know I missed something, because there's always that one game someone's yelling at their screen about right now. So go ahead, drop it in the comments, and tell me what should have been here. And if this video helped you find even one new favorite, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one.